not working. Okay. All right, Rabbi, good morning. Let us begin. We begin by thanking our sponsors of this morning's shir, to thank the Learner Mishpacha, our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Adar, for dedicating all the shiurim and drashos this month in memory of Mrs. Dina Lerner Gerber, Dina Bas Yehuda Leib, and the merit of her Aliyas Neshama, Paul and Kathy Pollack, for dedicating the week of learning in memory of Paul's grandparents, Zechariah ben Zechariah and Dina Bas Pesach, Mr. and Mrs. Shmuel Artman and Mr. and Mrs. Moshe David Artman, for dedicating the shiurim this week, L'zecher Nishmas, their father's 20th yard site, Fishel Beryl ben Yitzchak Gershon. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, all of the neshamas have an aliyah and the families a nechama. Also with that, let us begin. So today's daf is, hey, beautiful daf ahead of us. We are picking up in Meretz Hashem on Dalet Amud Beis 4b, and we are picking up at the beginning of the wide lines at 4b. So what is it? It's 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. So remember, just to reorient ourselves a little bit. So remember, the Gemara was asking a fundamental shaila, which is, why is it in a situation where you place the basket into the hand of an individual, whether it's the ani placing the basket into the hands of the balabayis, or the balabayis placing the loaf of bread of the basket back in the hands of the ani, why are you chayiv for that? After all, what? After all, the hand is not a makom dalid al dalid. Not a makom dalid al dalid. And we assume that one is only halacha l'maisa chayiv for placing something down in a makom chashuv, an important place, meaning by definition just basic dimensions of dalid al dalid. So the Gemara wanted to suggest that maybe the Mishnah reflects the view of Rabbi. So the Gemara says, hey Rabbi, which Rabbi are we talking about over here? Ile mahadisanya. We actually read this yesterday, we'll pick up from here. Zarak v'nach al gabi ziz kol shehu. If a person goes ahead and throws, Rashi says over here, look at Rashi, Zarak, so the changes it here to, Birshus Harabim. So what happens if a person throws an object, Birshus Harabim, Mitchilas Tal Sov Dalid, V'nach Al Gabi Ziz. Shabbos, if you remember again, we have not actually spoken about this yet, because up until now, our cases of Hotzah, or our cases of transference, were limited from Rishus Hayochid to Rishus Harabim, or Rishus Harabim to Rishus Hayochid. But there is another form of Hotzah, which is transporting an object, Daled Amis, in Rishus Harabim itself. That's the case over here. So just listen to these details. A person is standing in Rishus Harabim, and he throws an object. The object travels Daled Amis, V'nach al Gabe Ziz, and it comes to rest on a protrusion. Ziz limit, imagine like a pole. It comes to rest on a pole, on a protrusion. So what happens? Kol eitze yotze min hakosel kari ziz. Fine, so it comes to rest on the protrusion. So what's talacha? So the Gemara says, and now we'll say, imagine for a moment that the ziz has very small dimensions, right? The little branch or the protrusion just has small dimensions. So we'll say, so the shaila is, so the Gemara says, Rabbi mechayiv v'chachamim potrim. Rabbi says that you're chayiv, and the chachamim say you're pater. The fact that Rabbi says that you're chayiv, what does that tell you? That teaches you that one does not require a makom dalid al dalid for hanacha purposes. So the Gemara says, no, that's not a good raya, because hasam kidaba'ina lameimar lakamon kedabaye. The Gemara says there, we're coming to explain, as we explain it later on, in accordance with the position of Abaye. Amar Abaye, hacha be'ilan ha'omid birshus hayachid, v'nofet nota l'rishus harabim. In fact, again, I will say that case of the protrusion is actually a branch. And it's a branch that comes from a tree. Good. Branch that comes from a tree. And the trunk of the tree is standing in Rishus Hayochid. And the branch extends into Rishus Harabim. And what happens? And I'm standing in Rishus Harabim. Vizarak v'nach anofo. And what happens? I throw the object, and the object comes to rest on the branch of the tree. The Rabbi Savar, Aminan Shadei Nofa Basar Ikaro, Rabbi says that the branch ultimately goes ahead and what? The branch itself follows the tree. In other words, we're supposed to say the identity of the branch is nigrar, is dragged after the tree. And therefore, what? Basari karo. V'rabbanan savri lo amrinan shadei nofa basari karo. So we'll say, in fact, the Gemara says this is a different case. With the machlokes Rabbi and the Chachamim over here is, when you have a tree whose trunk is in the Rishus HaYachid, but the branch extends into Rishus HaRabim, and I'm standing in Rishus HaRabim, I throw an object, and the object lands on the branch. So what's the halacha? Rabbi says that is ki'ilu, the object landed in Rishus HaYachid. Since the trunk is in Rishus HaYachid, even though the branches extend into Rishus HaRabim, it's as if that tree is fully in Rishus HaYachid. So therefore, again, when the object lands on the branch, you're chayav for otzah. The Rabbanan, on the other hand, say no. We look at the branch where it is, and we don't look at the branch vis-a-vis the trunk. So therefore, I will say, really, it doesn't help us so much in this case. So the Gemara says, so the truth is, what the Gemara is actually dealing with this is a little bit different. The Gemara is actually explaining that what this really means for our purposes is that what's the status of a branch? Does the branch take on the status of the trunk or not? Now the truth is, that's not as much a locational issue for our purposes right now, as much as it's saying, since the trunk is Dalid al Dalid, the branch also has the status of Dalid al Dalid. Therefore, it turns out that the item that's being thrown actually does come to rest on a makom Dalid al Dalid. Fine. Eloha Rebbe. Rather, it's referring to the following position of Rebbe. Disanya, Zarak mirishas harabim l'rishas haram rishas hayachid be'emtza. The person throws from one rishas haram to another rishas harabim, and there's a rishas hayachid in the middle. Rebbe mechayiv v'chachamim potrim. Rebbe says that you're chayiv, and the chachamim say that you're pater. From Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel mechayiv hayi Rebbe shtayim. Achos mishum otza v'achos mishum achnasa. Alma lo boy akira v'lo hanocha gabi makom dalad al dalad. We'll say here it is. Rebbe holds that if I'm standing, we'll say, listen to this case. I'm standing in Rishus Harabim, and I throw an object, and the object travels through my Rishus Harabim, through another Rishus Hayachid, and comes to rest in a second Rishus Harabim. Rebbe says, interestingly enough, I am chayiv twice. Chayiv twice. Why am I chayiv twice? From transferring an object from Rishus Harabim to Rishus Hayachid, and then what? From Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim, which means what? That according to Rabbi, that object is as ki'ilu, it has come to rest in the Rishus Hayachid that it flew through, which tells us that halacha l'maisa, you do not need hanacha on a makom dalid al dalid. To which the Gemara says, no. Ha'itmar Allah Ravu Shmuel Darmitar Vayu, top of hay, lo mechayiv Rabbi ella birshus hayachid nekura. So we'll say, in fact, the Gemara says that case is different. That Rebbe holds that only works when the Rishus Hayachid itself, that the object flies through, is roofed. That it has a roof. So we'll say, what's the chap if it has a roof? So look at Rashi. Sheyesh lagag. Why? What does this mean? Because when the Rishus Hayachid is roofed, the Amrinon, Beisa Kimali Demal Yodamya. Because we'll say, if the Rishus Hayachid is roofed, then halacha l'maisa, it's ki'ilu that the Rishus Hayachid is fully filled in. If it's like it's fully filled in, that's when I can say that it's like the object came to rest. Aval she'ena makura, but if the Rishus Hayachid is not roofed, low, then ultimately, again, we do not view the object as if it has come to rest. So maybe you'll say over here that in our Mishnah, we're dealing with a situation where the Rishus is roofed, to which the Gemara says, that's fine, that's fine if the Rishus Hayachid is roofed. However, Rishus Harabim Makora Michayiv, we'll say, is there such a thing as a Rishus Harabim which is roofed? V'amar of Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav, Hamavir Chayfetz Adalat Amos Rishus Harabim Makura Potter. But it's actually very interesting. If you carry an object in a roofed Rishus Harabim, I don't know what kind of mitzvah this would be, but you carry an object Dalat Amos in a roofed Rishus Harabim, what's the halacha? Potter. One is potter. Why is one potter? Lefi she'ena doma ledigle hamidbar. But says we're going to see everything comes back to the desert. Right? Everything comes back to the desert. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, in the desert, there was no roofed Rishus Harabim. Right? Rishus Harabim was totally open. Therefore, if you were to go ahead and carry in a roofed Rishus Harabim, so halacha l'maisa, you would be potter. So therefore, we'll say again, this is a very simple exercise that's turning quite complicated. We're just trying to figure out whose opinion is being espoused in the Mishnah. The Mishnah indicates to me that I could do hanacha even on a makom that's not dalid al dalid. Whose opinion is this? And we have yet to find it. Ella Amar Rabbi Zera Hamani Achirim hi. So Rabbi Zera says, you're right. Whose opinion is this? It's the Achirim. Here we go, Rabbi Say this Sanya. Achirim Omrim Amad Bimkomo Vikibel Chayiv. Akar Mimkomo Vikibel Pater. Rabbi Say, very interesting case. If I throw an object, and let's say the object goes ahead and, the object travels either Dalet Amos or Rosh Hashanah, or I throw from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So we'll say I throw the object and Reuven catches it. Assuming that Reuven was just standing in place and he caught the object, what's going to be the halacha? I, the thrower, will be chayiv, because my act of throwing ultimately again is my akira, and Reuven catching it ultimately will be the hanacha. On the flip side, akar mimkomo v'kibel pater. If Reuven ran towards the object to catch it, then I will be pater. Why? Because the fact that Reuven himself engaged in dynamic activity, moved himself to go ahead and catch it, that means the hanacha is no longer mesiaches to me. The object coming to rest is no longer considered to be a byproduct of my action. So Allah Chamas, in that case, I'll be pater. To which the Gemara says, I amad b'mkoma v'kibel chayiv haba inan hanacha gabi makom dalid v'leka. So Rabbi say, but one second, if I throw the object and Reuven catches it, why should I be chayiv? After all, again, if Reuven's catching it in his hand, then what? That is not a makom dalid al dalid. So what do you see from here? Elishmamina lo ba'inan makom arba. So we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here that you do not need a makom dalid al dalid. That's what you see from here. That halacha l'maisa hanacha could take place even on an area that is smaller than dalid by dalid. To which the Gemara says v'dilma hanachu dolo ba'inan ha'akira ba'inan. But maybe you'll say, we saw this in yesterday's daf as well. Maybe it's only hanacha, which does not have to be done on a makom dalid al dalid, but akira does, because you also remember again, as much as you need both akira and hanacha for an act of hotzah, nevertheless it is viewed that akira is the more dominant part of hotzah. So maybe it's only hanacha that doesn't require dalid al dalid, but akira will. To which the Gemara says, v'dilma hanachu lo ba'inan ha'akira ba'inan v'hanacha nami dilma depashet kanfei v'kiblei dikanami hanacha. But maybe not. We'll say maybe the case over here is where Reuven caught the object. How did he catch the object? Interesting. How did he catch the object? He spread out his garment, so he caught it on the garment. Now catching it on the garment could be what? That's the case of dalid al dalid. So maybe he is in fact catching in a makom dalid al dalid. To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Abba masnisin kigon shekibel betrasko v'yaniach aga betrasko de'ikanami hanacha. So therefore, both Rabbi Abba seeks to sidestep the entire issue. He says, what's the case? The case is where the ani is receiving the object from the balabayis in a basket. So therefore, both said the basket is a makom dalid al dalid. So in fact, everything here is taking place in the context of a basket. It's makom dalid al dalid. The Gemara said, here's the problem. V'hayado katani. But that's not what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says that the ani is placing something into the yado shal balabayis, the hand of the balabayis, or the balabayis is placing something into the yado shal ani, right? It doesn't say traskel, to which the Gemara says, you're right, so let's change that. Tani traskel shebi yado. Change the gears of the Mishnah to mean what? That he placed it into the basket, which is in his hand. So both say that's actually pretty interesting and easy resolution. It is a makom dalid al dalid. Right? We'll say there's no direct hand-to-hand contact over here, but rather again the ani is handing his basket, or the balabayis is placing his object into the basket. So the Gemara says, well, here's the problem. Hatinach traskel shebirshus hayochid. So we'll say that's fine when you're dealing with a basket inside the Rishus HaYachid. Ela traskol shabirshus harabim Rishus HaYachid. We'll say here's the problem. As we're going to learn, again, we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but technically speaking, you could have a Rishus HaYachid inside of a Rishus Harabim. How do you have a Rishus HaYachid, Rishus Harabim? If you have a kli, if you have a utensil that has certain dimensions, that kli can act as a private domain inside of a public domain. So if indeed you have a basket that is dalid al dalid, potentially that basket could act as a rishus harabim, even Thank you. Rishus hayachid, even in a rishus harabim, in which case, Rabosai, if the balabais, for example, is putting something down in the basket of the ani, why would the balabais be chayiv? Because that would just like be transferring the loaf of bread from one rishus hayachid to another rishus hayachid, to which the Gemara says, "Limud lo Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda." This Sanya, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda, Omer. So Rabosai, this must not reflect the view of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda, who says that what? Not kana b'rishus harabim. If a person goes ahead and puts a pole, right, puts a pole down in Rosh Hashanah, Uberosho Trasko, and on the top of the pole is a basket. Zarak v'nach al gabav. So we'll say, so look at the following situation. A person takes an object, he throws it, and it comes to rest in the basket on top of the pole. What's the halacha? Chayiv. A person ultimately, again, will be chayiv. Now, both say, now, why are you chayiv in such a situation like this? Take a look at Rashi. V'nach al gabav chayiv, the af agav dilamata lo havikana rachav dalid. Because even though, in the bottom of the pole, the dimensions are not dalid by dalid. Hoil ubero shel arba'a, amrinon good ochis mechitza, the vahavi rishus hayachad gamra. So both say, fascinating case. Rabbi Yossi says like this: if you have a basket that sits on top of a pole, and the basket measures dalid al dalid, and you throw an object, you're standing in Rosh Hashanah, and you throw the object and it lands inside the basket, Rabbi Yossi says you're chayiv for transporting an object from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. But the bottom of the pole doesn't have dimensions of dalid al dalid. How could it be Rosh Hashanah? So both say concept of good achis mechitzta. Rosh Hashanah, sorry, thank you. Because go say good achis mechitzta means we're going to see that when you have a kli and that kli has walls, under certain circumstances we could view the walls as extending all the way down. All the way down. In which case, halacha l'maisa, that's a bona fide Rosh Hashanah, and therefore it would be chayiv. So the Gemara says, the ikra Rabbi Huda, pashat balabayis es yado l'chutz. Because I will say, for like Rabbi Huda, then when the balabayis goes ahead and extends the loaf from inside his rishos into the basket of the ani, visnasan l'soch yado shel ani, amay chayiv. So also remember again, in Rabbi Yossi's model, so a basket has the ability to act as a self-contained Rishus Hayochid, and therefore halacha l'maisa, when the Balabayis extends the loaf from his home into the basket of the ani, the Balabayis is effectively transporting an item from what? One Rishus Hayachid to another Rishus Hayachid. In which case, why should he be chayiv? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, Hasam lemala miyud, hacha lemata miyud. So we'll say it's possible that according to Rabbi Yehuda, everything depends on where the basket is situated. If the basket is within 10 tefachim, so it is subsumed by the Rishus Harabim. So maybe the case of the Mishnah is, even though the ani is placing the loaf of bread into a basket of the, even though the balabais is putting into the basket of an ani, if the basket is lemata miyud, within 10 tefachim of the ground, that's considered like Rosh Hashanah, that's an act of otzah. The previous case where you're throwing the object and it lands in the basket on top of the pole, that's lemala miyud. To which the Gemara says, well, kashele l'Rabbi Avo, mi katani traskol shebiyado, hayado katani. Rabbi will say, here's the problem with this entire interpretation. The Mishnah doesn't say anything about placing something into the basket of the ani, but rather what does it say? Into the hand. Into the hand. To which the Gemara says, Ella Amar Rabbi Avo, kigon sheshil shal yado lamata migimel v'kibla. We'll say, what's the case? The case is where the ani, when he receives the loaf of bread, puts his hand all the way down to 3 tefachim of the ground. Rabbi says we're going to see also the concept of within 3 tefachim of the ground is the concept of lavud. Right? Lavud says anything within 3 tefachim is as if it is at rest on the ground. On the ground. So we'll say, so therefore, again, that's the case. So even if seminars, we don't have to get into the fact that the hand is a makom that's not dalid al dalid. If the hand is within 3 tefachim of the ground, it has the status of karka, and the karka, of course, is a makom dalid al dalid. To which the Gemara says, or the other possibility is, vaha omed katani. But 1 second, the Mishnah says omed. We'll say omed means what? You're standing up straight. You're standing up straight. So to put your hand within 3 tefachim of the ground, what has to happen? You have to be hunched over. To which the Gemara says, b'shocha. So the person is hunched over. That's what's happening over here. He's hunched over and he's holding his hand between 3 tvachim to the ground. All the other possibilities, Zibai Sema, Beguma. Most of the other possibility is what's happening over here. He's standing in a pit. Excuse me, the ani is standing in a pit, and therefore both say when he lifts up his hand is within 3 tfachim, ultimately again of the ground. Or the other possibility is V'ibai saying bananos. We're talking about a dwarf, right? Someone who's very short, and therefore again his hand is 3 tfachim of the ground. To which the Gemara says, really? Amar Rava. The Mishnah is going out of its way to teach us, we'll say, these strange cases of where a person is the ani is bending down, holding his hand 3 tefachim to the ground, or he's standing in a pit, or he's a dwarf. Really, like that. That's the case of the Mishnah. I will say, so here we come to the end of this journey. Amar Rava. Yado shel adam chashuva lo kedalit al dalit. I will say, bottom line, halacha l'maisa. The Gemara is saying you're right. The truth is, here's what we know. In order for an act of hotzah to occur, the act of hotzah must ultimately again occur, akira and hanacha, from a makom chashuv. But the Gemara says a person's hand is like a makom dalid al dalid. That's the bottom line. Rava says the hand itself is a makom chashuv, and the hand itself has the status of a makom dalid al dalid. V'chein ki aser Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan yado shel adam chashuva lo ki dalid al dalid. A person's hand has the status of a makom dalid al dalid. Rabbi Avin, Rabbi Lai, Rabbi Yochanan. So we'll say, so that's the end of this journey. Right, the end of this journey is that all of these, the reason why it works if the balabais puts it in the hand of the ani, or the ani puts it in the hand of the balabais, it's not a makom dalid al dalid, and the answer is, it is. Because the hand has the status of a makom dalid al dalid. Rabbi Avin, Rabbi Lai, Rabbi Yochanan. Zarak chayfetz v'nach besoch yado shel chavero chayiv. Rabbi say, again, same idea. So Rabbi Yochanan says the name Rabbi Eli, saying right Rabbi Yochanan. So if I throw an object and it comes to rest in the hand of my friend, I will be chayiv. My kamashon, what is this coming to teach us? Yodo shel adam chashuv lo kedalid al dalid. Rabbi say comes to teach us that what? That a person's hand is like a makom dalid al dalid. I vaha am Rabbi Yochanan chadazimna. But Rabbi Yochanan already taught that to us once. To which the Gemara says, Ma'u detema hanimi lihecha da achshava hu liyadei. Aval hecha de lo achshava hu liyadei imalo. So I might have said as follows. When is a person's hand the makom dalid al dalid? I would have thought that's only when there's intentionality. In other words, when I'm dafka handing it from my hand to your hand. So if I'm going out of my way to put something in someone else's hand, that's when halacha l'maisa what? A person's hand has the status of makom dalid al dalid. But if I'm throwing something where perhaps some element of intentionality is missing, perhaps halacha l'maisa under those circumstances, a person's hand is not a makom dalid al dalid. Kamash molon that's not the case. Kamash on that halacha l'maisa. So I would have thought that again, a hand isn't makom dalid al dalid. Kamash molon no, that a hand is always considered to be a makom dalid al dalid. Beautiful. So we'll say that is again very important interpretation of the Mishnah. The reason why halacha l'maisa you're going to be chayiv for placing something into someone's hand, even though it's not a makom dalid al dalid, is why? Because the hand always has the status of a makom dalid al dalid. Beautiful. Rabbi Amin, Rabbi Eli, Rabbi Yochanan. Amar bimkomo v'kibel chayiv. Akar mimkomo v'kibel pater. So we're going back for just a second. Remember again, I throw an object, and Reuven catches it. If Reuven catches it while he's standing in place, I, the thrower, am chayiv. However, if Reuven moves himself, let's say he runs towards the object and he catches it, I, the thrower, will be pater. Right? So in other words, if Reuven catches it in place, it is as if I, the thrower, have done akira and hanacha. But if Reuven moves, then halacha l'maisa it's viewed as if he did the hanacha, I did the akira, and therefore again we'll both be pater. Tanya Namiyachar Brisa that supports this. Achirim Omrim Amad Bimkomo V'Kibel. If Reuven stands in place and catches the object, Chayiv. Akar Mimkomo V'Kibel. But if Reuven uproots himself and he receives the object, then Pater. By Rabbi Yochanan, Zarak Chayfetz V'Neakahu Mimkomo V'Chazer V'Kiblo Mahu. So let's listen to this interesting case. What happens if I go ahead and I throw the object, and then what? I go ahead and I go to catch my own object. Let's say, hear this. I throw it, and then I run to catch it. So we'll say, so am I responsible for the akira and the hanacha in that case? We'll say first wide line, hey Madalif. My kami baile. So what's the shayla? Amrav Adabar Ava Shnei Kochos Ba'adam Echad Kami baile. So we'll say, so the shayla is, what happens when one person goes ahead and espouses two, or not espouses is the wrong word. One person goes ahead and, what's the right word? One person goes ahead and creates two kochos, right? That's the same in this case. I'm the thrower, but I'm the catcher. But I'm not the catcher. See, Rabbi said, to be clear, if I throw it up, let's say I go ahead now. Yeah, so that's what's happening over here. Meaning, let's just go back for just a second. If I throw the object and Reuven's standing right, I throw the object and Reuven's standing in place. And Reuven catches it while standing in place. I did the akira, I did the hanacha. I throw it, and Reuven runs towards the object. The thrower, pater. Why? Because Reuven essentially did the hanacha. What happens if I go ahead and I throw it, and then I run to catch the very object that I threw? So I will say, so that's two kochos. So the shayla over here is shnei kochos ba'adam echad kami ba'ilei. Both said the shayla is when one person goes ahead and is the source of two different kochos. What do we say? Shnei kochos ba'adam echad ke'echadami ka'adam echadami. Do we say at the end of the day, if I'm the thrower and I'm the catcher, it's one koach? Why is it one koach? Because it's all coming from the same person, and therefore again I should be chayiv. O dilma kishnei b'nei adam dami. Or Rabbi said, do I say that's what? Maybe again it's like two people. It's like two people. If I'm the thrower and I'm the catcher and I'm running to catch the object, even though again I am the source of both of those kochos, it's as if it's two people and I'm pater. To which the Gemara says, teku. Teku. Interestingly enough, we're not sure about that. Shnei kochos ba'adam echad. So, Bosi, you hear the musar in this, the incredible musar in this. Shnei kochos ba'adam echad is a teku. Bosi, because sometimes you know what the greatest teku in life is. How could it be that I'm adam echad and I have two dramatically different kochos, shnei kochos? I have the capacity to do so much good, and I have the capacity to do so much damage, and it comes from adam echad. How could it be that one person could be the source of so much tov and so much ra? To which the Gemara says, good shayla, teku. It's the teku of human nature. Sometimes hard to comprehend how we could be the architects of so much tov and the architects of so much ra, coming out of the same guf, coming out of the same neshama. It's a shayla for Eliyahu Hanavi. It's a teku. So Amra Rabbi Abin, Amra Rabbi Yochanan. Hechnis yada l'soch chaser chavera. Interesting case. The kibel me geshamim. V'hotzi. So again, if I'm standing in my friend's, if I extend my hand into my friend's chaser, and literally again I receive rainwater. So we'll say, so just the case, I'm standing in Rosh Hashanah. I put my hand, it's raining, I put my hand into my friend's chaser, and literally again I receive rainwater, and I take it out. So what's that? Halacha chayif. So says the Gemara, why? Maskef Rabbi Zera, mali et ino chavero, mali et ino shamayim, ihu lo avirakira. We'll say, here's the problem. If I'm catching rainwater, what does that mean? The rainwater was never at rest. If the rainwater was never at rest, then what? Then there was no akira. But remember again, Hotzah 101 is, in order to be chayv, what do you need? Akira and hanacha. Akira means an object was at rest, I picked it up, I transferred it to another domain, I put it down. If I'm catching rainwater, that rainwater was never at rest. If it was never at rest, then how could I be chayiv? To which the Gemara says, Lo tima kibel ela kalat. The Gemara says, you're right. Don't go ahead and say he received it, rather he collected it. Now I'll say, look at the last Rashi. Ela ima kalat, Rashi says, Hashta sakadaitcha kishi shahaya kiluach yoreid ha'ahika biado achas v'kiblo bechaverta da'avid le akira. So listen to this interesting case. So we're saying over here, what's the situation? The rain's coming down, and what I do is I take my hand and I swat the raindrops into my other hand. So if I will say, as the rain's coming down, I'm swatting it into my hand and collecting it in my hand. To which the Gemara says, I don't understand, but still, the Gemara says, I'm sorry. But one second, we'll say still you need nakira from a makom dalid al dalid, and you don't have that. I'm Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Braid Rav Huna, Kigon Shekalat me al gabi akosel. Both say, what's the case? The rain is coming down on a wall, and I'm collecting it from the wall. So the rain did come to rest on a makom dalid al dalid. The Gemara says, al gabi kosel nami v'halonach. But both say, even on the wall, it's not coming to rest on the wall. And if the object is not coming to rest, then halacha l'maisa, again, there's no akira. Kedam rava bekosel meshupa. Both say, what's the case? The case over is with a slanted wall. It is coming to rest on the wall with a slanted wall. Like a sloped wall. So we'll say on a sloped wall, ultimately, again, the rain is coming to rest, and therefore there is an akira. Hachinami bekosel meshupa. So we'll say, but where was Rava's statement made about a sloped wall? This nana will say, Amud Beis. Interesting case. Hayakori b'sefer alei sikufa. We'll say if a person was going ahead and reading a sefer, and Rashi points out over here, remember, when the Gemara used lashon of sefer means a scroll. A scroll. So a person is reading a scroll on a isikufa, so a isikufa means you're on, like, let's say, a ledge. B'niskalgel ha-sefer miyado. And they'll say, what happens? One part of the scroll falls out of my hand. So I'm holding part of the scroll, the other part of the scroll fell out of my hand. What's the halacha? Gololo etzlo. So the halacha is you could roll the scroll back. Or we'll discuss the parameters of this. But you can roll the scroll back to you. However, kore berosh gag. But if I was reading on the top of the roof, v'niskalgel ha-sefer miyado, and halacha l'maisa, again, part of the scroll fell out of my hand. Ad shelo egia l'yotfachim. So both say, now remember, the image over here that's being painted is I'm sitting on the roof reading a scroll. It's just a regular Wednesday, right? I'm sitting on the roof reading a scroll. This part of the scroll goes ahead and falls out of my hand, right? Obviously, my house is in my rishus, but the scroll falls down, or part of it falls down into a rishus harabim. So what's the halacha? As long as the scroll is not within 10 tfachim of the ground, I can roll it back. Why did I both say? Because ultimately, again, once you're within 10 tfachim, that's what? That's the airspace of Rishus Harabim. So as long as it's Lamala Miyud, I can roll it back. Golo etzlo mishegia liyotfachim. But if halacha l'maisa, ultimately, again, the scroll extended into the airspace of Rishus Harabim within 10 tfachim, hovcho alaksav. And I will say, under that context, what I just have to do is I turn the scroll on its. I turn the scroll with the print facing down, right? I don't know what the good word, right? Not upside. I turn with the print facing down, right? Why am I turning to the print facing down? Because once it's within Yutfachim of the Rishus Harabim, it's in a different domain. If it's in a different domain, I can't roll it back. So the best I can do is flip it on its side, right? Flip it on its, so that ultimately the print is no longer exposed, therefore making sure that it doesn't get ruined. And then after Shabbos, I'll roll it back. The Gemara says, my hofcha la'aksav halonach. The Gemara says, I don't understand. The scroll didn't come to rest, right? So we'll say the image I have over here is what? The scroll is dangling down into the airspace of the Rishus Harabim. But if it didn't come to rest within the Rishus Harabim itself, then it should not be problematic. I should be able to roll it back. The Gemara says, Amarava bekosel meshupa. Rabbi says, no. What's the case? It came to rest. What did it come to rest on? A sloped wall. So we'll say because it came to rest on a sloped wall, therefore halacha l'maisa, I can't roll it back. Amar de Amarav. So we'll say, so therefore again, the Gemara wants to suggest that that's the case over here also. When am I going? How am I gathering rainwater from my friend's chutzner and bringing it out into my own, and I will be chayiv where the rain is collecting on a sloped wall? To which the Gemara says, Amar de Amarava b'sefer de avadinayich. The case of the sloped wall works just fine. With what? With a scroll, because the scroll comes to rest. Mayim miavidi dinaychi. But I both say, does water itself ever really come to rest? In other words, water doesn't come to rest on a sloped wall. Allah Amarava, what's the case of the rainwater? Kigon shegalat me'agabe guma. But say, interestingly enough, what's the case of the rainwater? Where the rainwater collected in a pit. So inachinami, what's the case? I will say, the rainwater collects in a pit in my friend's chutzner, and what do? I scoop out some of the water, I bring it into Rosh Hashanah, and what's the halacha? The halacha is I am chayiv. To which the Gemara says, I don't understand, guma pshita. So we'll say, if that's the case where the rainwater is collecting in a pit, and you're telling me that I'm taking rainwater from a pit and transferring it into Rosh Hashanah, That case is obvious. Like what's the chiddush? To which the Gemara says about the tema mayim agabe mayim lav hanachohu. Both say this is incredible. The havamina is I would have thought that maybe when water comes to rest on top of water, that's not really called coming to rest. That's what the Rabbi say. So if you have a pit filled with water and you go out and you skim water off the top of that pit, that water is not really called at rest, right? It's not really called. I should say it's not stationary in a particular place. Maybe I would have thought that. Kamashana, that's not the case. Kamashana will say that water, let's say that is situated in the ground, is considered to be at rest, and therefore halacha l'maisa, if you were to go ahead and take a handful of water from your friend's guma and transport it into Rosh Hashanah, you would be chayav for that. Va'az the Rava l'tamei, and I will say Rava goes according to his reason. Because what did Rava say? Here we go. Dama Rava, mayim al gabi mayim hainu hanachasan. Water on top of water is considered to be rest. I will say what that means is, let's say you have a pit filled with water, so you could view that as each little bit of water is its own independent entity. And therefore the water on the top is resting on top of the water on the bottom. So maybe the water on top is not really considered to be at rest. Kamash Malan Rava says yes it is. It's all viewed as one unit of water, and that unit of water is at rest on the ground. Egos agabi mayim. Lav hanu hanachasa. Well, this is an interesting case. But let's say you have a nut, right? A nut that is floating on the water. And I will say, so watch this case. If you have a nut that's floating on the water, and you were, let's say, to take, so I will say, Reuven, right? Reuven has a chutzner. And in his chutzner, he has a pit of water. And in that pit of water is floating a nut. I pick up that nut, and I take it into Rosh Hashanah. Rava says, I'm not chayiv. Why am I not chayiv? Because the nut is not considered as if it came to rest. Excuse me. The nut is not considered as if it was at rest. There was no akira in that case. Why was there no akira? Because ultimately a nut floating on the water is not considered to be stationary enough so that I've performed an akira. To which the Gemara says, Egos the guy good. By Rava, Egos bekli v'kli tzafa gabe mayim. So we'll say now we're really getting into the nuts in the water. So here we go. So now watch this. Let's say you have a nut that's in a kli, and the kli is floating in the water. So we'll say, so now what am I doing? I take the nut from my domain, and I transfer it into another domain. So we'll say, so the shaila is, I think that card is on the floor. So what happens? So here we'll say the case. So the nut, right? The nut is in the kli is on the water. So now what happens? I go ahead and I take the nut from the kli, transfer it to another domain. So what's the shaila? Have I done a bona fide akira or not? To which the Gemara says, Basar egos azlina v'hanayich. So do we look at this from the perspective of the nut? And from the perspective of the nut is at rest. Why is the nut at rest? Because where's the nut? In the kli. So do I say that from the perspective of the nut is at rest, and therefore I've done an akira? On the other hand, do I say, dilma basar kli azlinon v'halo nayich denayit? Or do I say, maybe I look at the kli, I go after the kli, and the kli is not at rest. Why? Because the kli is floating on the water. To which again the Gemara says, Teku, Iliyar Navi. Shemen shetzaf agaba yayin. And I will say, what about the following situation? What happens if you have oil that is floating on top of wine? Right? What happens with oil that is floating on top of wine? So I'll say, so now what happens? You go ahead and you take the oil. Do we say that the oil? Well, let's see. So Shemen Shatzaf Agabiyai Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri v'Rabbanon. This is a Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Rabbanon. How so? This nan we learned Shemen Shatzaf Agabiyayin. If you have oil floating on top of wine, v'Nagal Tvul Yom b'Shemen, and a Tvul Yom. I'll say, which means again, remember a Tvul Yom goes ahead. Rashi says Tvul Yom poselas es hatruma min haTorah biyavamas. So remember again, a Tvul Yom means a person who has gone to the mikvah but still requires what? Herav Shemesh. She needs the sun to set. So we'll say, so a Tvul Yom has the ability to pasel truma, right? Which means we'll say, not that he makes it tameh, but he invalidates it. So now watch this. So we'll say, so I have oil that is floating on top of wine. A tvul yom touches the oil. So what's the halacha? Lo pasel ela shemen bilvad. The Chachamim say he only pasels the shemen. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri shneim mechubarin zelazar. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says he apostles both of them. Why? Because they are both connected. Now, both say this statement has ramifications not just for the halachos of Truma, but also for Shabbos. Take a look at Rashi. Lo pasa al Hashem bilvad lefi shein chibor zelazek, because we don't view the oil and wine as connected to each other. V'shemen pasalhu v'lo timei hilchach lo pasalei liyayin. So we view according to the second opinion. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that they are both connected, but the first opinion says that halacha l'maisa only the oil is pasal, but not the wine. Why? Because ultimately, again, we do not view them as one entity. Le'inyan Shabbos nami havi kidavar acher hatzafa amayim delav hanu halachaso. Therefore, we would say, remember, whatever applies by psul also applies by Shabbos. If you say that ultimately, again, they're both one unit, and therefore if you touch the shem and you also passel the wine, that means for Shabbos they're also one unit, and therefore they're both considered to be at rest. If on the other hand you say that when the Tzful Yom touches the shemen, he only passels the shemen and not the yayin, that means that what? That the shemen is at rest, or is sitting on top of the yayin, which means ultimately again, the shemen is not at rest, because it is sitting ultimately again on another liquid, and therefore you would not be chai for nakira for that on Shabbos. Okay? Am Rabbi Yochanan. Hayaton, ochlinu mashkin v'nichnas v'yotze kol yom kulo. Both say another very interesting halacha. If a person had on his back, let's say, ochlin and mashkin, he was carrying food and drink, and he was going in and out, nichnas v'yotze, going in and out of Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, or vice versa, the entire day. Eino chayiv ad shiyamot. You're only chayiv if you stand still. So what this is saying is like this. Imagine for a moment again, you just keep going back and forth between Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah. Technically speaking, you're not chayiv until when? Until you stop. Because what happens? Essentially, again, when you stop, you have an akira, and then subsequently again, when you stop again, you have a hanacha. Amar Abaye, but this only assumes v'hu sha'amar lafush. Rabbi say this is only assuming that you're stopping to rest. See, Rabbi say stopping to rest. If you look at Rashi, v'husha omid lafush, it's the third wide line in Rashi. Lanuach hahi hava amida va'akira debasra havi akira. So Rabbi say when you stop to rest, so stopping to rest halacha lamaisa, that's considered to be ultimately an akira and hanacha, because the stopping is something chashuv. However, again, we'll say if the Gemara says mimai meida amar mar toch dalet amas amud lafush pater lekasef chayiv, because we'll say after all we learned elsewhere that if you're walking and you stop within dalet amas to go ahead and rest, you'll be pater. In other words, we'll say you're only chayiv for transferring an item in Rosh Hashanah if you walk uninterrupted dalet amas. But let's say before you complete the dalet amas, you stop to rest, you'll be pater lekasef chayiv. But if you stop to adjust your load, then you'll be chayiv. In other words, what does that mean? Stopping to adjust your load halachically is not viewed as stopping. So because of that, it doesn't create a akira / hanacha. Chus dalet amas, once you've traversed dalet amas, ameid lafush chayiv. If you stop to rest, ultimately again you will be chayiv. But lekasef pater. But if you stop to ultimately adjust your load, you'll be pater. So Rabbi say, what's the idea? The idea halacha l'maisa is that one is only, so if one is walking back and forth, like we understand, at some point in time you have to stop in order to be chayiv, right? Because again, when you stop, that's called an akira / hanacha. But if you don't stop, there's never an akira hanacha. If there's never an akira hanacha and you're just walking back and forth, no liability on Shabbos. All the Gemara is making a distinction over here is not all stopping is equivalent. It is only if you stop to rest that you have performed an act of akira hanacha. But if you stop to adjust your load, then ultimately, again, that is not an akira hanacha. To which the Gemara says, "My kamash malon shalo hayis akira mishar rishon lekach." So we'll say, so what's the chiddush? So the chiddush is you're telling me that there was no initial akira. To which the Gemara says, we already learned that. Ha amra Rabbi Yochanan chadazim. Rabbi Yochanan already said that once before. Damar of Safra amra Rabbi Yochanan. Ha ma'avir chafatzim mizavis l'zavis V'nimlach alein v'hotzi pater shalahaisa kira mishar rishon lekach. So we already learned this once before, which is what? That if halacha l'maisa, let's say you're in your house, and you're moving objects from corner to corner, and then you know what? As you're walking from corner A to corner B, you just go out into Rishos Harabim. What's the halacha? You're not chayiv. Why are you not chayiv, Rabbi? Because there was no initial akira. To which the Gemara says, you're right. Amorai ninhu. We'll say there are just different versions, different amoraim. According to halacha by Rabbi Yochanan, mar amala b'haylishna, umay amala b'haylishna. So we'll say, amazing enough, the Gemara says, really you're right. There's just different amoraim espousing the same halacha in different ways. So we'll say, so bottom line, what we're learning over here is what? Is that in order to be chayiv, there must be an initial act of akira. If there's no initial act of akira, even though you're walking around transferring an object from domain to domain, halacha l'maaseh, you will not be chayiv. So for example, if I will say I'm carrying an object, I'm just walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, technically speaking, I'm not liable on Shabbos. Until when? Until I stop. But even then, same idea, if I'm carrying stuff around in my house on Shabbos, and it just turns out that I just go and I walk out the front door into the Rishos Harabim, once again, there's no chiyuv. Why, Rabbi say? Because without an initial premeditated act of akira, one will not be chayiv. And therefore, Rabbi say that is the halacha. And again, just multiple ways of stating the same halacha, namely that there must be an initial act of akira in order to go ahead and trigger a hotzah violation. We'll stop over for today. Let me pick up at the 2 dots tomorrow.